Hallo iedereen, welkom bij Dutch&Go, go. Today we're going to talk about separable verbs, what they are, how they function, and why they appear more difficult than they actually are. Let's go. So first of all, I need to talk to you about what a separable verb is. You might have heard about it, you might have seen videos about it, and have walked away confused and scared and angry. I feel you, and I got you. So first of all, a separable verb is an infinitive that is combined with a participle. Okay, so that's basically the basic principle. Think about a verb like staan, which can be conjugated on its own. Staan, ik sta, jij staat, hij staat, etc. But in the infinitive, it just gains a participle in front, opstaan. Alright, that's basically it. Let's look at what it means, for example, for English speakers, and I just want to link it back to English just to make it a little bit clearer, because especially in A1 level, where you just learn a lot of separable verbs that are very, let's say, transparent, or you're supposed to rather, because some of the online examples that I've seen are very abstract and I think are quite difficult to understand for A1 students, so that's why I made this video. So basically, let's look at some examples. Staan, which means to stand, versus opstaan, to stand up. Well, in this case, it actually means to get up. So, a slight change of meaning. It just means to get up. To stand up, to get up, get up. Then, let's look at another one. So, for example, Coleman, to come, versus terugkomen, which means to come back. Terug always means back. Easy. Or, for example, gaan, to go, teruggaan, to go back. So, that's completely transparent and very similar to, English. You can just translate that one-on-one, no problem. Or another one, gaan, to go, weggaan, to go away. Again, very easy. Weg, away, weggaan. Or finally, for example, maken, to make. And then kapot maken. Kapot means like broken. So kapot maken, to make broken, literally translated, so meaning to destroy. You make something broken, basically. So, generally speaking, especially with the, more transparent, more concrete, less abstract separable verbs, there's a clear link between, on the one hand, the original verb and then what the verb means once you start combining it with participles. When it comes to separable verbs, there are also a lot of particles that you can use that are very recognizable, that would make it easy for you to recognize, oh yeah, this is a separable verb that I'm dealing with. So some very frequent participles are things like op, uit, weg, mee, terug, aan, af, etc. In a later video we'll be, or in actually two later videos, we'll be looking at some other categories of separable verbs, and then we'll look into some other participles too, and what they are and how they work and what they mean. But for now, that's roughly it. Also, pay attention. You can't just invent separable verbs. You can't just put op in front of every infinitive that you have and hope that a new separable verb will arise. That's not really how they work. There is a determined lexicon. There's a determined list of important separable verbs that you should know. You should just study them. But all I'm saying is there is some logic behind it all. And another way of recognizing them is, of course, that you put the accent on the beginning of the infinitive, on the participles. For example, opstaan, terugkomen, meekomen, weggaan, kapot maken, etc. So the accent falls on the participle when you say the infinitive. Now let's look at how to conjugate a separable verb. Well, so the infinitive is together: opstaan, weggaan, terugkomen, meekomen, weggaan, kapot maken, etc. When you conjugate it, as it already says in the name, you separate it. So let's look at the example of opstaan. Ik sta op. Jij, je staat op. U staat op. Hij, zij, ze staat op. Wij, we staan op. Jullie staan op. Zij, ze staan op. So in terms of the conjugation, there's really nothing special to note here except for the fact that the participle, the separable participle, comes after the verb. For example, things like te adding a T in the second person and in the third person, and then putting the plural into the infinitive form of the verb staan. You know, all of that stays the same. Also, inversion rules apply. So, for example, morgen sta jij om 7 uur op. I take away the T from inversion, just as I normally would. So all of the normal rules that we've already seen. If you have any questions about inversion, check out my previous video about that here. You know, they apply. So really nothing new except for just this added participle. Finally, let's talk about the position of the participle. The participle comes at the end, in the eindgroep. If you have any questions about eindgroep or what that is, or need to refresh your memory, check out a video I made about that here, up there, because I think that will also be tremendously helpful in understanding it. But basically what it is the separable participle always comes at the end of the sentence, and everything else in the middle is just this accordion, or as I compared it, this kind of like pasta tonsil. We had so much fun with that. Memories! And basically you can just stretch out the middle part of the sentence for as long as you like, just as you would with any other normal eindgroep, where you would put maybe an infinitive or even a participium in the past tense, you know. So let's look at some examples. So for example, ik sta elke dag om 8 uur op. We komen vanavond om 9 uur van het werk naar mijn ouders terug. Zij gaan straks na het diner weg. Jouw kinderen maken mijn nieuwe computer kapot. Etc. So basically, in terms of the structure, in terms of how to structure it, again, nothing new. We have the concept of eindgroep. Use it. Put the separable participle in the eindgroep, and everything else comes in the middle of the sentence. You're done. A final note, if you want to use separable verbs in the future tense or in combination with auxiliary verbs, that is also very easy, because as we've already seen about auxiliary verbs, they always are combined with the infinitive. So basically you just put the infinitive at the end as you normally would. So for example, zij zal morgen om 7 uur opstaan. Jouw kinderen willen mijn computer kapot maken. En wij moeten vanavond om 8 uur weggaan. Very, very normal, infinitive at the end, in this case, you know, everything together, but that is just the infinitive of the separable verb. I'm not going to be talking about the past tense or separable verbs and subclauses. That's for another time, for another level, for another video. These were just the separable verbs in the present tense and in combination with auxiliary verbs. So, to sum up, what you should take away from this. First of all, don't be scared of separable verbs. Remember, they are quite similar in English. I mean, okay, you know, structure and stuff is a little bit different, but the mechanism exists in English. It's not something that is super foreign or super strange. I would absolutely say when it comes to practicing, just focus first on getting used to the structure, make exercises and make them orally, just so that it becomes natural to you when you speak. Remember, it's not because you're able to write something and follow a rule, writing something down, that you're able to say it, in a spontaneous way. So I would, do as many speaking exercises as possible, and do exercises out loud. Record yourself, check backwards solutions, that kind of thing. I also should mention, yeah, of course I understand it can be confusing that you have to wait until the end of the sentence until the, particle basically reveals itself and the true meaning of the sentence is revealed. However, I can also promise you that the more that you practice, the more you'll get used to these separable verbs according to context, and it will also become a lot easier for you to predict which participle is coming at the end. So, of course, it might seem daunting to think, oh ja, de kinderen maken de nieuwe computer kapot. Good lord, that kind of thing. But actually, in a conversation, I can guarantee it's not as random as you think it is. It will actually make sense to you the more that you practice it. But that's why practicing orally is really important. And yeah, get used to the structure, get used to this principle. In 2 other videos, we'll look at 2 important categories of separable verbs, and later on, as you advance, you can also then start to practice with more abstract separable verbs, but for now I would focus on those that are transparent and just get used to the mechanism. Because, you know, if you start to mix in then also like more abstract separable verbs, you know, abstract meanings, that kind of thing, then it can become very difficult for you to get a grip of it. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment box down below. Give a like if you like, subscribe, and see you next time. Tot de volgende keer. Tot ziens. Dag.